All right, I'm going to tell you a little story about my blind date with a robot. So just to give you a little background, my experience with collaborations were that, well, I knew they came in all forms of expressions. But my experience has been primarily that it's people who know each other, maybe friends, colleagues, so they know each other, and from their conversations, from their shared experiences, their shared ideas, something evolves out of their conversations, and a project idea comes from there. But I wasn't having much luck with that lately. And then I met Curiosity Collider and Char. And Char had actually asked me if I was interested in doing a collaboration. So a little more background. This is a couple of my paintings. My interests are in physiology, anatomy, biology, neuroscience, and my paintings are a little bit abstract, subtly figurative. I don't know if you can see a few faces in there. It takes a little while for some sometimes. And the background and the foreground kind of merge together. Anyway, so I thought I could possibly be paired up with a botanist, biologist, anatomist, cardiologist, even cartographer maybe. So these were some of the scientists that had showed some interest in my work before. But Char had something brewing already. Too many things in my hand. So my next meeting with Char, she says, I want to hook your paintings up with a robot. I was like, what? Okay. She said, a line-following robot. So this was not really what I was expecting. And I quickly realized that I was getting set up on a blind date, or at least my paintings were. And so I was a little bit apprehensive, but I did my research. And this is what I found. So these are a few examples of line-following robots. But I was still at a loss for finding the relationship between my paintings that were organic, chance-driven, and this very calculated, programmed, and automated performance machine. But Char was so excited and convinced there was great potential here, I couldn't help but say, let's go for it. Luckily, Char knew a fair amount, and I learned from her. And as we had conversations, I started making connections with my own work and my recent interest in how brains work. This is when I decided that the track would be a brain. So I went to this. These are a few ideas that I came up with. But I still had a lot of questions about the technical aspect of it, how this would all come together. Let's fast forward to get to the core of the collab. So Char found Dan and Jigglebot, and this was the setup. Char posted basically an ad to find, and Dan, from the brief description of what the project was about, had enough interest to be curious and to see what this was all about. So we're ready for the first date. Dan arrived with Jigglebot, and there were definitely sparks. But I still had a few questions. So Dan was kind enough to give me a profile of Jigglebot, and it went something like, his favorite color, black and red. We'll follow these colors anywhere. I'm not partial to blue. Physical ability, proficient with straight lines, skilled with large curves, cannot turn on a dime. Preferences, curves of at least 10 centimeter in diameter, and lines 2 centimeter in width. Strengths, determined, persistent, will never give up, unless he runs out of batteries. And I'm sure I gave Dan a similar profile of my drawings. The next phase, so of course we had to get to know each other, and the line drawing had to get to know the bot. And through conversation, this is how this happened, to see what we could create together. So the beginning of the collaboration was an exchange of visual concept and technical possibilities. I showed Dan a few sketches of the brain track I designed, and he gave me feedback on what the bot was capable of doing, what some roadblocks might be as well. Essentially how the robot would respond to different situations, so road quality, intersections, etc. The questions I asked were something of the kind, do you tend to follow known pathways, or are you inclined to explore? So how much chance and choice can I include in the design of the track? When you reach a dead end, how do you react? Are you able to find a way out? And here I was trying to find out how detailed a drawing I could get, and what would I have to do if the bot came to a dead end? Would I have to create a cul-de-sac? Anyways, the questions continued like that. So as we continued doing some more test runs, and then me going back to the drawing board and Dan going back to the motherboard to make adjustments to the bot. So we both worked on ourselves. Although working out technical aspects was the starting point of our collaboration, the challenges that arose were actually the meat of the project. What it was all about and what sparked our conversations about brains, intelligence, thought patterns and difficulties, OCD, memory loss, TBIs. So the parallels between the tasks we gave the bot and how the information travels in the brain began to surface. Cue the first video, I think. Yeah. Okay, so conversation phase over. We're getting to the tough stuff now. How do you work out your differences together and grow stronger? This is where Jigglebot found the infinity loop and got stuck. And there were a number of other things that were about the differences between the preferences of the line drawing and the bot's preferences, and how these preferences would shape the final creation. But the differences were also what we got excited about and became an integral part of the piece. So the juxtaposition of the organic with the mechanical, the spontaneous and the program, the ambiguous and the clear cut. So here we're working out the problems and actually getting beyond compromise, thinking outside the box. Kind of to jump ahead, this is when projections got involved. But these were the final tests before the exhibit, so things are really coming together now, and we're getting past these difficulties. This is when you know it gets serious. They start planning the future. So we find ourselves in the final stage when you know it's serious. What was the really great part of the collabs was that what emerged was we got excited and inspired, and often our ideas for the project got too big for the first exhibit, and we knew we wouldn't be able to create it for a first time, and we started thinking about future possibilities together and what other projects we could create. So what started as an exchange between imagery and technical specifications evolved into an exchange of ideas and perspectives and sparked shared visions for future possibilities. So a blind date grew into a wonderful friendship. And that's the engagement party.